Hall of Famer, a well-respected teammate, a silent superstar, and arguably the best wide receiver in Indianapolis Colts history on the field.
That's right, we chose Marvin Harrison as our top receiver of the 2000s.
But off the field, an alleged killer who almost lost his life on multiple occasions.
Harrison has been entangled in a series of shootings in a crime-ridden Philadelphia neighborhood.
This is the complicated and tragic fate of the man who turned Peyton Manning into the quarterback that he became at the professional level, Marvin Harrison. Childhood and high school. Marvin Harrison was born on August 25, 1972 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to Marvin Greer and Linda Harrison. Harrison was only 2 years old when his father passed away. His cause of death ruled as natural causes. However, his father was identified by GQ as a gang member, making the details of his death a bit more convoluted, considering he died at only 22 years old. Due to Greer's passing, Linda was forced to work 2 jobs and struggled to make ends meet. Once he was in high school, Harrison worked any job he could find to support the family, working as a busboy at Friendly's, hauled equipment, mowed grass, painted football stands, and cleaned locker rooms. Around this time, Harrison was burning the candle on both ends, but appeared to be handling this incredibly heavy workload at his age. He thrived both as a student as well as an athlete. He studied hard and excelled in both basketball and football at Roman Catholic High School in Philadelphia. In fact, Harrison even invited one of his high school teachers, Joe Ferrero, to his Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. While Harrison was a talented basketball player, it quickly became clear during his high school career that football was his true calling, and by the time his senior year came to an end, it was hard to find a top-tier program that was not interested in him. Many of his coaches and teachers encouraged him to attend Notre Dame and Penn State. However, Harrison went on to shock many and chose to commit to Syracuse. Collegiate career. At Syracuse, he majored in retail management and went on to start as a true freshman in the 1992 season. He did not see much action as a wide receiver, but was able to pull in 2 passes for 23 yards. He also served as the team's punt returner, only returning a single punt for 5 yards. This lack of meaningful impact mostly came as a result of the Orange already having a well-established core of older players, finishing the season with a 10-2 record and capping off their 1992 campaign ranked 6th in the country with a 26-22 win over the 10th-ranked Colorado Buffalo in the Fiesta Bowl. The following season, Harrison was able to play a much bigger role in the offense and began to come into his own at the collegiate level. He recorded 41 receptions for 813 yards and 7 touchdowns, establishing himself as one of the most promising young talents on Syracuse's offense. He also returned a single punt for 3 yards and 1 kick for 18 yards. Even with his personal jump in 1993, the team as a whole took a bit of a step back, finishing the year with a 6-4-1 record, despite starting the season ranked as the 6th best team in college football. In his junior year, Harrison hit a bit of a regression statistically. He made 36 catches for 761 yards and 5 touchdowns. This was still a respectable stat line, however, a step back from the production he had in 1993. While his numbers as a wide receiver took a hit, he shone as a punt returner, accumulating 165 yards on 18 returns. As a team, Syracuse was heading in the right direction, finishing the year with a 7-4 record, and even spent 7 weeks in the top 25, peaking at 10th. However, the season began to become a bit derailed in the home stretch, with the team losing 3 of its final 4 games. In the 1995 season, Donovan McNabb took over as Syracuse's starting quarterback. While no one knew it at the time, this would be the best thing to happen to Harrison in his college career. He and McNabb made an instant connection, and it went on to culminate in the star wide receiver having a record-setting season. He went on to have career highs across the board, making 56 catches for 1,131 yards and 8 touchdowns, leading the Big East in both receiving yards and yards per reception with 20.2 yards per catch. Along with this, he had an amazing season in the return game, totaling 369 yards and 2 punt return touchdowns on just 22 returns, leading the Big East in punt return yards, touchdowns, and yards per return with 16.8. The Orange ended the year with a 9-3 record, with Harrison ending his college career on a very high note in the Gator Bowl against the 23rd-ranked Clemson Tigers, where he went off for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns on 7 catches in the dominant 41-0 win. After this win, Syracuse secured a 19th ranking. Harrison went on to be arguably the most accomplished wide receiver in Syracuse history. He ranks second in school history in single-season receiving yards, career receiving yards, and career receiving touchdowns. Along with this, he ranks sixth all-time in Big East history in career receiving yards, first in yards per reception in conference history, ninth in career receiving touchdowns, and 17th in career punt return yards. He would go on to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Draft Day. After his incredible season in his senior year, Harrison found himself in a situation that he was already familiar with teams around the country clamoring to add him to their roster. He had proved himself at the collegiate level just as he had at the high school level, and on draft day of the 1996 NFL Draft, he did not have to wait long to reap the benefits and hear his name called as the Indianapolis Colts selected him with the 19th overall pick.
Indianapolis Colts select Marvin Harrison, wide receiver from Syracuse.
While 19th may seem a bit low for a talent like Harrison, this was a loaded draft class that featured players like Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis, Brian Dawkins, Terrell Owens, and Zach Thomas. NFL career. Harrison was joining a well-rounded Colts team that was coming off of a 9-7 season in which they made it all the way to the AFC Championship. Their passing offense that year left a bit to be desired, ranking below league average in almost every metric. Despite only being a rookie, Harrison was able to make an immediate impact on the team, pulling in 64 passes for 836 yards and 8 touchdowns in his inaugural season. Indianapolis was able to make a return to the playoffs. However, they ran into a dominant Pittsburgh Steelers team, which sent them home in the wild card round by a final score of 42-14. Harrison stagnated the following season due to inconsistent quarterback play from Jim Harbaugh, who was eventually benched for Paul Justin and Kelly Holcomb. Even with the revolving door at the quarterback position, Harrison was still able to record 73 catches for 866 yards and 6 touchdowns. However, the Colts had an abysmal 3-13 season that allowed them to land Peyton Manning with the first overall pick of the 1988 draft. Despite what the duo would go on to achieve later on together, their first season together was rocky to say the least. Harrison was only able to suit up for 12 games due to injuries, while Manning threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Unsurprisingly, due to the time missed, Harrison was still unable to make the statistical jump that many around the league believed he was capable of. Along with this, the Colts went on to have another awful season, finishing with a record of 3-13 for the second straight season. But in 1999, everything finally fell into place for Indianapolis. Harrison made his first Pro Bowl on the back of an incredible season in which he recorded 115 catches for 1,663 yards and 12 touchdowns, leading the league in receiving yards per game at 103.9, and targets with 193. Not only was Harrison named to the Pro Bowl, but he was also a part of the All-Pro first team. The Colts were able to flip their record in just one season from 3-13 to 13-3, making a return to the playoffs. But they were stunned in the divisional round in a 19-16 loss to the Tennessee Titans. Despite the rough end to their 1999 campaign, Harrison and the Colts kept their foot on the gas through the turn of the century. He led the league with 102 receptions while also putting up an elite 1,413 yards and 14 touchdowns. This earned him another Pro Bowl appearance along with a spot on the All-Pro second team. But when the playoffs came around, Indianapolis was once again unable to rise to the occasion, falling to the Miami Dolphins in the wild card round, 23-17. In 2001, he would go on to set a career high in touchdowns at 15. Along with this, he totaled 1,524 yards on 109 catches on the season, giving him another Pro Bowl and All-Pro second-team appearance. But even with this elite season from Harrison, the Colts struggled to just a 6-10 record, missing the postseason. The following season went on to be the best of Harrison's career and a historic season that solidified him as one of the best wideouts of this era. He could not be stopped, and Manning was absolutely feeding him, with Harrison getting 143 receptions on 205 targets for 1,722 yards and 11 touchdowns. He led the league in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and yards per game at 107.6. At the time, this was the most single-season receptions, but this would later be surpassed by Cooper Kupp in 2021 and Michael Thomas in 2019. He once again was named to the Pro Bowl, made the second All-Pro first-team appearance of his career, and even finished in second in the Offensive Player of the Year voting. Indy made a return to the postseason, but was stomped in the wild card round by the New York Jets in an embarrassing 41-0 loss. It would have been almost impossible to match or even surpass these numbers in 2003, but Harrison was still able to put together another elite season. He was forced to miss a game, but still put up 1,272 yards and 10 touchdowns on 94 receptions, making the Pro Bowl and All-Pro second team. The Colts were able to win their first playoff game of the Manning era, taking down the Denver Broncos 41-10 in the wild card round. They then were able to top the Kansas City Chiefs 38-31, punching their ticket to the AFC Championship against the New England Patriots. However, this is where their run came to an end, with Indianapolis falling by a final score of 24-14. Up to this point, Harrison had differentiated himself from other star wide receivers. While many at the position have followed the stereotype of being divas, this was not Harrison, who barely even spoke. However, there was an outburst before the wildcard matchup against the Jets that hinted at something much darker behind the silent superstar. Allegedly, Harrison felt as if a ball boy for the Jets were encroaching on his space as punts were landing near him and Manning. As the story goes, he then grabbed the ball boy by the neck, and later on at the medical station, marks were visible from the alleged choking incident. Charges were never pressed, but the ball boy did ask for an apology, one that he never received. In 2004, as Harrison was continuing to age, now 32 years old, and Reggie Wayne was beginning to come into his own, the veteran wideout was seeing his target share begin to decrease. Despite this, he was still able to tie his career high in touchdowns, while still contributing a strong 1,113 yards on 86 catches. This was still enough to make the Pro Bowl and All-Pro second team. In the playoffs, the Colts once again sent home the Broncos in the wild card round 49-24, before having their season ended by the New England Patriots, this time in the divisional round, this time by a final score of 20-3. The following season, Harrison was able to maintain a similar stat line from the season prior, pulling in 82 passes for 1,146 yards and 12 touchdowns, leading the league in receiving touchdowns despite missing a game. He made the Pro Bowl again and the All-Pro second team for the third straight season. After losing just 2 games in the regular season and earning a first-round bye in the playoffs, the Colts were shocked in the divisional round, falling to the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-18. 3 days before the Pro Bowl, Harrison found himself in another questionable situation that somehow stayed out of the national headlines. Allegedly, a teenager was following and hounding him for an autograph when Harrison eventually reached his breaking point. He swung at the teenager, grabbed him by the throat, and put his arm around his neck before he and his entourage ran off. Once again, no charges were pressed, but a pattern was quickly forming with Harrison that directly contradicted his on-field persona. 2006 was the last truly elite season of Harrison's career. He recorded 95 catches for 1,366 yards and 12 touchdowns, making the Pro Bowl and All-Pro first team, the final time in his career that he would be named a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro. In the playoffs, they took down the Kansas City Chiefs in the wildcard round, 23-8, before defeating the Baltimore Ravens 15-6 in the divisional round. This punched their ticket to the AFC Championship, where the Patriots were once again waiting for them. This time was different, with Indianapolis finally able to get the monkey off their backs, and not only finally beating Tom Brady and the Pats in the postseason, but also making it to the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, they took on the Chicago Bears and defeated them by a final score of 29-17. Giving Harrison his first Super Bowl win. The following season, Harrison was sidelined for 12 games due to a serious knee injury. In the 5 regular season games he suited up for, he was still able to tally 20 catches for 247 yards and a touchdown. Despite missing a majority of the regular season, he was able to rush a return to action to rejoin the Colts in their divisional round matchup against the San Diego Chargers. But even the return of their veteran wideout was not enough for them to avoid the upset, falling by a final score of 28-24. It was clear in 2008 that this knee injury was still affecting Harrison. Pairing this with the fact that he was 36 years old, it was clear that his best days were now behind him. He was still able to record 60 receptions for 636 yards and 5 touchdowns. During this season, he recorded his 1,102nd career catch, moving him up to second place all-time in the statistic. While others would revel in the glory of this achievement, this was not the player Harrison was. He instead tucked the ball away on the sideline, hugged his head coach, Tony Dungy, and went back to business as if nothing had happened. Indianapolis once again met up with the Chargers in the postseason, this time in the wild card round. Harrison was able to pull in 3 passes for 20 yards, but his career came to an end in a 23-17 overtime loss. Despite his career ending with a whimper rather than the triumphant roar it deserved, Harrison still ended his time in the league as one of the most talented wide receivers that the league had ever seen. He amassed 1,102 receptions, 14,580 yards, and 128 touchdowns. Harrison was named to the Pro Bowl 8 times, the All-Pro First Team 3 times, the All-Pro Second Team 5 times, won a Super Bowl, made the Hall of Fame All-2000s team, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016. He currently ranks 5th all-time in career receptions, 9th in receiving yards, and 5th in receiving touchdowns. The incident that may have ended his career. However, what if I told you this was not how Harrison wanted his career to end, and he desired to continue taking the field, but an off-the-field incident closed that door? Peyton Manning would go on the record to say, "There's a Marvin in Philly and a Marvin in Indianapolis." While he was quiet in front of crowds and around his teammates, when he was back home, a much darker side of Harrison came out. A side that would not only put an end to his NFL career, but put him in a courtroom. Throughout his career, Harrison was quietly buying up businesses and property in the area where he grew up. It was near a garage in the area that he owned that a shooting took place that almost took multiple lives. According to an eyewitness, Robert Nixon, a man who not only saw the shooting but was caught in the crossfire, was hit in the shoulder. He saw Harrison with a gun in his hand during a fistfight with Dwight Dixon, a man who outweighed the 180-pound Harrison by almost 100 pounds. While Dixon recounted the situation saying, "I was getting my kicked." He then left the area and arrived at the garage where he said, "Bullets were flying past my head, all over the car. The car was riddled with bullet holes, the glass shattered." But Dixon claimed that he saw Harrison fleeing the scene saying, "He raises the guns up and starts shooting. He raised both his hands up and started shooting at my truck. Too many to count. The tires were all shot out, the windows were shot out." Dixon was also shot, but was able to survive the attack. He was a convicted criminal on parole and did not cooperate with police. He was even charged with lying to them. It was proven that the shooting was done with Harrison's gun. But shockingly, charges were not pursued against him, with Philadelphia District Attorney Lynn Abraham saying, "I'm pretty comfortable I know who fired the gun. I have to prove the case. With these witnesses, I don't think so." While a Philadelphia officer said, "Looks like Marvin caught another pass." While Dixon would not cooperate with the police, he did sue Harrison for $100,000 in damages. Mysteriously, a year later, Dixon was the victim of another shooting, this time struck in the chest, stomach, and arm, just 2 blocks away from Harrison's sports bar. This time, the shooting was too much to bear, and he succumbed to his injuries. Before the surgery that would leave him in a coma from which he never woke up, Dixon told detectives that he believed this shooting stemmed from the incident with Harrison the year prior. Despite this being one of the final things that the victim said, Harrison was also found not to be connected to this shooting. Even after these findings and Harrison's release from the Colts, making him a free agent, no team pursued a contract with him due to the negative headlines that loomed around him at the time. Getting into another near-death situation after retirement. But even half a decade after the fatal shooting of Dixon and Harrison's NFL career long behind him in 2014, it appeared that his troubles in Philadelphia were far from over. Allegedly, he was flagged down by David Gamcorta, a man fleeing 2 pursuers who had just robbed him in his apartment. Harrison allowed him to jump into the back of his truck. The 2 assailants then began shooting at Harrison's truck. While both men left the scene unscathed, they did pop one of his tires. Life in retirement. This was the final time that Harrison was in the headlines, and it appears that he has been able to outrun his troubles in Philadelphia and finally settle down. He now has 2 children, Marvin Harrison Jr., born in 2002, and Jet Harrison, born in 2006. Harrison Jr. currently plays for the Arizona Cardinals, the 4th overall pick of the 2024 NFL Draft. He has gotten off to a similarly slow start to his career as his father did, and some still hold out hope that he will be able to make a similar jump that turned his dad into a Hall of Famer, while Jet is currently a 4-star recruit set to graduate in 2028. Along with coaching his children from the sidelines, Harrison continues to own many properties and businesses in the Philadelphia area. Even with his off-the-field troubles, Harrison's on-the-field contributions are undeniable. He is one of the greatest wide receivers of his era and one of the most talented to ever play the position. His name will continue to be plastered in the league record books, while in terms of receiving stats, he more or less owns a page of the Colts record book. But let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Harrison benefited from his status as a Hall of Fame wideout and avoided facing punishment for a shooting he committed, or was he rightfully found innocent? Who are some other players you think we should take a deeper dive into, similar to this? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to NFL Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.